Got a great topic today. I think it's just ever incredibly timely in these anxious times. It is mindfulness in school, and I am very pleased to welcome Elliot Buck, who's our speaker today, and she will be talking about how mindfulness, including meditation and yoga and other techniques, can help create a more focused learning environment, a more collaborative learning environment, both at school and at home, especially for children with attention or learning differences, but really for all of us. She will be focusing primarily on elementary school with some discussion of middle school issues, but some of the things that we'll be learning about are the social and the emotional benefits of mindfulness, of yoga and meditation for children with ADHD, and also ways that teachers, for parents, caregivers can launch simple, engaging practices to help children with ADHD both at home and at school. So let me introduce her today, Elliot Buck, and we're so glad to have you. She has been teaching in independent schools for over 20 years. She's a graduate of Lesley University and teaches at the moment at Glen Urquhart School in Beverly, Massachusetts, where she brings her passion for yoga, meditation, and mindfulness into her second grade classroom. So thank you so much for joining us today, Elliot. We're really pleased to have you here with this great topic. Let me just tell you a few housekeeping tips before she starts to speak. Elliot starts to give her presentation. You will see a control panel in the upper right on your screen. You may post your questions at any time. They are anonymous. No one can see them except me. And after Elliot has finished the slide presentation, she will answer as many questions as time permits. I will read them to her. If you have any problems hearing us, this is an internet-based broadcast, and the problems are probably an internet bandwidth-related issue, so please dial in via your phone line. You'll see the phone number in the control panel on the right, so that's the place to go if you start having listening problems. If you want to take notes, some people like to print out the handout in advance and follow it while Elliot is speaking. You may download the slides now. They're in the handouts section, also on the control panel, and print them out, or you may do so later. And don't forget, as I mentioned above, that all of our sessions are recorded. They're available as replays. This webinar, including previous webinars, including the presentation slides, on the Attitude website, attitudemag.com webinars, or is in audio format in iTunes, in the iTunes ADHD Experts podcast section. So with that and our thanks, let me turn it over to Elliot Buck.
Thank you so much, Susan. So I want to give a shout out to my colleagues at Glen Urquhart, and thank you so much, especially Maggie Clark, who's my co-teacher, and all of my second graders for encouraging me and supporting me along the way. So it's my hope that I can inspire parents and teachers to begin using mindfulness in the classroom. And just a little background on how I got started with this. I started doing yoga, and I realized that how it made me feel, and I thought, well, why can't I do this in the classroom? And I was busy being a mother and a teacher at the same time, and I decided that I would do it in the classroom, and I realized pretty quickly that it was a lot of fun, and the kids enjoyed it. And I noticed in particular that many of my students with ADHD really benefited from using yoga and meditation. And so that was when I got started, and I just realized that at times when they were having conflicts or feeling stressed, that they could go into child's pose or take a moment of breathing. And I think many of you, if you're listening to this, you probably may be curious about it, and you're already doing some of that in the classroom or at home. So I think oops, sorry. So I guess my overall advice is to start simple and have fun with it, and really just be gentle with yourself and your students, because together you can just create a wonderful environment with using all of this. So this is my outline, as you all know, and so I'll be touching on all of those things. And I do think that a lot of the simple steps for creating a mindfulness routine yoga and meditation activities for home, and then ways teachers can bring mindfulness practice to the classroom all overlap. So, you know, you can use those no matter who you are. So I think it's really important to have, I think a lot of people get confused between what is mindfulness and what is meditation. And I like to think of I like this quote from Susan Kaiser Greenland, and she's the author of The Mindful Child and Mindful Games. And this is one of the best resources ever. If you can read the book, The Mindful Child, and then get the Mindful Games, it's amazing. But anyway, she says mindfulness is paying attention with kindness to yourself, other people, and to the world around you. I really like that definition. And again, mindfulness is paying attention to what we are doing while we're doing it. There's so many distractions around, and I think this is just key to pay attention to what you're doing while you're doing it. And most of the meditations that I use in the classroom are guided meditations, like body scans. I also use movement meditations and like yoga, mindful walking, which we'll talk about later, and mindful eating also. And actually, I think that probably had 3 classes eat string beans. Everybody eat string beans really slowly, if you can believe it. So I feel like that was a real coup. Anyway, the other kinds of meditations I do in the classroom I call them focused meditations, and that's really focusing on an image or an object like a rock or a candle. And another very famous person, John Kabat-Zinn, I like this quote as well. The best way to capture moments is to pay attention. And this is how we cultivate mindfulness, and mindfulness means being awake. And there's Ed there. Can I call you back, Ed? I'm in the moment here. I just thought that was kind of funny. I can see you're laughing back there. And then one of the greatest things about practicing mindfulness is the effects on our brain. And there are 2 quotes there, one by Daniel Siegel, and then also by the psychologists Kirk Stroessel and Patricia Robinson. So a little bit about this. There's so much research out there, and you know, when I was preparing for this webinar, I thought, oh wow, there's just so much, and you know, it's all good, but it can get a little confusing. But what I like to think about is that it's really the mindfulness affects the parts of the brain that are associated with processing information and paying attention, which is, you know, what kids need to do. It's what we all need to do. So it's important for all of us, and you know, the mindfulness can really regulate your emotions and help your memory and learning. So it's just exercise for the brain, really. That's what I tell the 2nd grade. we're stretching our brain, and we're exercising, and we're really learning how to be mindful, and to, you know, we're gaining lifelong skills, which we can use all the time. And another funny thing, I was telling my class that I was a little nervous about this because I've never done something, and you know, here I am talking to the screen. I have no idea what you're doing. Maybe you're flicking through your slides, I don't know, but and maybe you'll come back to this and this will be useful information. But you know, they kind of looked at me like, you know, just do some calm breathing. Come on, like this is what you're telling us to do. So anyway, let's move on. And this is another slide I found that really just talks, you know, it addresses the benefits of mindfulness. And here, more patience, better focus and productivity, increased compassion, heightened body awareness, and less stress and anxiety. And as Susan said today, that earlier, that you know, it's just, we live in a stressful world, and it's just, you know, taking pause and giving children these tools so that they can deal and they can make better choices and you know, have these lifelong skills. So that's kind of my goal in all of this. And plus, it's so much fun. The activities are great. Oops. So when I was also preparing for this, I reached out to all my former parents, and I thought that, I asked them a lot of questions and just what they thought about my teaching mindfulness in the classroom. And, here are some examples of some powerful testimonials. So without mindfulness, I find that my daughter cannot absorb what is being taught, and she doesn't have the interest in learning. She is clouded with anxiety, but with a daily meditation and some yoga, she was able to clear her mind of these distractions and move into a state of reception and intrigue. Meditation was the most talked about learning during her second grade year, and she taught us how to do it and would practice it on her own as well. To this day, she uses meditation to calm herself when she's frustrated with her sister or myself. These sorts of skills are imperative life skills that help her to feel confident, centered, and ready to take on the world. In fact, this child comes in and visits. She's a fourth grader now, and she'll come in and meditate with us, and you can see her on campus meditating, and it's just a great thing to see. So and then the second quote on this page: mindfulness is crucially important and wish I had had the opportunity to learn and adopt at a young age. And that's something that really resonates with me. I wish I had had this, but I do now, so I think that's great. But these young children all around the world are, I think it's becoming so popular, and for a good reason. And so fortunately, we're all doing this in our classrooms, or I'm hoping that people are doing it. And then this same person sent me a picture of her daughter up in the attic with an LED light, and she was meditating, and she just thought that was so great. I've had grandparents come in and say, my daughter was teaching me how to meditate or do yoga. So they love teaching, their family members. And then some more comments. This one, doing yoga and meditation in the classroom certainly improved my daughter's ability to focus on academic tasks, but it also gave her the tools to practice it at home. Prior to bedtime, we almost always read a meditation to relax and settle down for sleep. I have seen firsthand the positive impact that these healthy life skills have had on my daughter. And I'll talk more about doing guided meditations, but this same child, she has come in and read her meditations from last year, and uses them at home, so it's great. Last one: having meditation as a tool is very handy when our son gets upset and we don't really understand why. It gives him and us some time to slow down and sort out what's happening. And it's been enjoyable, and we've seen it help him develop imagination and confidence. And then here's what kids are saying. There are two Vocaroo links down there, which I don't want to click because I think it'll take us out of this, but you can do that at home. And basically, it's a child speaking about meditation. And then the second one, it's 4 of my former students talking about meditation and leading you in a very quick meditation. So it's kind of cute. You might want to do that later. And this is a reflection at the top where there's a picture there, and this student is saying that meditation is very, very peaceful, relaxing, and it makes me feel calm when I do meditation. If I'm sad, angry, or disappointed, meditation makes me feel better, and that's why I love meditation. And then the last one: meditation is peaceful. Yesterday, the second grade went down to first grade to play math games with them, and it was really loud. But when we got back to second grade and we meditated, it calmed me down. That's what I like about meditation. It calms most people down. So there you have it, in the classroom. So the thing that I just love about meditating and working with kids is that it's so much fun, and you can keep it light, and the kids really, they respond so well, and they come up with better ideas than any of the teachers have, or at least that I have, and then we kind of work together to develop, strategies that will help them. And particularly the students and children with ADHD, they have so much extra energy, and they're trying to regulate, and so why not put it in a positive light and have the kids do yoga do mindfulness activities and work on their breathing so that when, they need to calm down, they have those tools. So that's really, you know, that's the best part about it. So I feel like there's really no right or wrong way to practice, and children get better as they become more comfortable, and so do teachers. And it's really all about awareness and noticing how you're feeling, and strengthening your powers of observation, and teaching the children that every single day you come to school, and your body might feel different, and just recognize that it's okay, but here's what you can do to manage your energy in a healthy way. And I do think that sometimes kids that have ADHD can be known for negative classroom behavior, and they could be disrupting classroom routine. And I feel like when you're working with these students, they just respond to the breathing and other activities instantly. And it's almost like magic. And because they have so much energy, they love using this energy doing the poses, and they're moving. And when you just accept this, you have to recognize the time. All right, we need to move around, and then you're going to be better prepared for, the literacy class or the math class. So really the goal is just to help them balance energy. And one of the greatest things is many of the students that have ADHD, we usually let all the kids lead yoga and the meditation, and you just give them a job and say, all right, you're in charge, and they just love it. And it's another way to put their energy into a positive light. So I feel like it's kind of like magic. I mean, there are some times where kids don't want to do it, and they might make a little noise, and our rule in the classroom is just please don't disrupt anyone. You don't have to do it. Just try, and maybe you'll want to do it eventually, but just as long as you're not interrupting anybody else, and that's okay, and that's how you're feeling. And I think, as I said earlier, I think the mindfulness, once students are feeling calm and focused, then they're ready to process the information, and it's a great connection. You feel validated and more connected to the class and other grades, and I feel like the students are better able to cope with stress and emotions, and they are building their stamina, their focus, their concentration. And honestly, for a teacher, when you're participating in this, it calms you down. If you're having a tough day, or you've got a lot to do, and you just get reconnected, and you get to start again in your day. So next slide. Oh, this is my favorite. So these are all the toys that you can get for your classroom. The gong is a big hit, the singing bowl, and the chimes. There's a yoga mat, and we call that the breathing ball down there. There are 3 of them over there, and we practice breathing as we expand it and contract it. And we have yoga blocks in our classroom, and so we always sit on those, and when we're meditating, and we use those for different activities, which I can talk about a little bit later. And then the chimes, which are a lot of fun. So you don't need all of these things, but it might be great to try these out, whether you're at home or in the classroom. Kids really respond to using these. And then we let them do it themselves, as long as they're respectful and they don't bang on it really loudly. So the next slide is how, I'm going to talk about how you can start this at home. And there are so many cards out there that are their yoga card decks, and you can practice the poses. And one of the things we like to do in the classroom, and you can certainly do it at home, is try to learn how to say the Sanskrit names. And so I think our head of school said one time, don't underestimate the power of kids. And, they love these challenges. And so we might, put ourselves in chair pose and, it's Utkatasana, and they love saying that. So it just ignites that, they like to be challenged. And so they'll go around saying that. So, challenging each other to either remember poses and the names. And sometimes we'll try the yoga poses in slow motion. And that's always a good one for, focus and concentration. Then the students love this. They make up poses and name them. We had a student last year who had a pose called mushroom pose, and they all loved it. And it just, they're happy and having fun and, being creative with making things up. Another one, which is a great one, that there's so many variations of this, but we call it a body scan, and we call it lemon toes, and that's a favorite. And actually, we could just do that right now. Why don't we? I'm sure I'm guessing everybody's sitting like I am, and what you do is you just, your feet are flat on the floor, and you squeeze your toes, you squeeze your knees, your thighs, your belly, your shoulders. You can clench your wrists and your elbows and your shoulders and your eyes and squeeze everything in, and then slowly release. So hopefully you're all doing that right now. You can do it a couple of times, and I'll see kids doing that when they're stressed, and they can just do that, but they love that one. You can just blow bubbles, and even adults can do this. I mean, we probably, give them to the younger kids and just say, oh, go blow some bubbles. But actually, when we all do this together, it's forcing you to pause, notice your breath, and, have a good time at the same time. So, or breathing into a pinwheel is another activity you can do. One of my favorites is going on a slow noticing walk and tapping into all your senses. We do this at school a lot, but you can do that anywhere, and just really stopping to notice the pebbles on the ground or the leaves in the trees, anything, and really tapping into that. I feel like we're all in such a hurry that you really don't notice all these beautiful things out there. So that's another fun activity you can do anywhere. Making a mystery box or bag. Kids love this one. You just put a bunch of stuff in a bag or a box and fill it with objects, and then they can reach their hand in and try to guess. And so that's kind of a fun, mindful experience that they can have. I love these two books, Peaceful Piggy Meditation or Moody Cow Meditates. Amazing books. Moody Cow Meditates is all about this moody cow, and he goes through a series of things that experiences that frustrate him, and then his grandfather comes in and teaches him, saves the day and teaches him how to meditate. But that is just an amazing book, and the kids love that. And Peaceful Piggy is also geared toward maybe younger kids, but my class loves that as well. The last thing on this slide, making a glitter mind jar. There's a link that I'm not going to click on, but there are a lot of variations of this too. Basically, you put glitter and glue in a jar with water, and that's like your mind when it's kind of crazy, the glitter all shaking. And after you've had, a peaceful moment, your mind is settling. And so that's a fun activity that, you can try with your kids at home or at school. And this is a favorite because we have our blocks in the classroom. We walk around the classroom and try to balance, and we've gone outside. So you can do that walking outside or around the house. You can just use a book too, but they really like the block. This is another favorite, to get colored LED lights or candles and inhale and exhale to the different colors. Kids love that. They like to also time it. We all sit there and go 1, 2, 3, turn the candles on all at once, and then it's like magic, and then we're breathing in and out. You can use I've seen kids use stuffed animals on their belly to slowly watch their breath. Um, that's a great one. Mindful eating, you'll see there's a lot online about this, and I thought one day I came into my head, I thought, oh well, I'll do it, and I had a huge bag of green beans, and I got about 10 kids to try them and eat them mindfully, and and then pretty soon everyone was doing it, and then the next day they're like, where are the green beans? So I had to keep buying green beans. So that was a plus in a lot of different ways. So there's a link for you, and that link I think I got from mindfulness-based stress, and I'll talk about that later, because that's a great website and great for anyone who's trying to do some mindfulness practice of their own. Dr. Amy Saltzman is amazing, so I think she talks about the still quiet place that we all have within us, and so that's a great link to use. And then I just found this, one of the greatest things for me about doing this is that it really confirms so much that I knew, and that there's so much out there. It's incredible, and you just have to find what works for you and what you like. But these are the things that work for me. But I keep finding new things every single day, and I sign up for magazines and articles, and my inbox just gets flooded with information. So you just have to decide what, go slowly and take it, in whatever pace is comfortable for you. And then this is, here I am talking about a still quiet place again. And these people to me, Dr. Saltzman, David Goleman, and Susan Kaiser Greenland, and obviously John Kabat-Zinn, these people, they're just they've done such a great job putting stuff out there, and I don't know, I always read their information and just keep learning and learning. I mean, that's what's great. You're always learning. And I think, one of the things that's most important, I believe, is just try to commit to doing a daily practice and be gentle with yourself and just keep it light. It's a practice, and you can laugh at yourself along the way, and just have fun with it. And maybe you can tell someone you're doing it, and they'll support you in this. And one of the things I found is that I kept reading about all these great people, and this is what they do, and this is what this other person is doing, and you just have to find your own voice and realize, like, it's all good, no matter however you're doing it. The end result is always a good one, I feel. And then you can always get feedback from the kids and say, oh, well, was that good? And they'll say, well, I think you should try this, and usually they're right. So I rely a lot on my students to give me good feedback. I think deciding on a consistent time to meditate. Most people like to do it in the morning, if that works. I also, on my phone, I set, I use that 7-second meditation and calm, and so it'll send me, a little quote on my phone, or I also have one that says drink more water. So I try to drink more water and do it mindfully, really slowly and not in a rush. So that's something you can do, and just breathing. The focus breathing, and the mindful walking. I try to do it even when I'm, as I said before, washing the dishes, doing the laundry, the things that I don't really like doing, but it allows you to be more mindful. So, and I think more successful, because you're not, your mind's not going all over the place, and you're working at a slower pace. And I think, again, pausing to notice sensations mindfully, what you're doing, is what I was just talking about. Oh, and the last one that's kind of fun on this slide is the coloring and the mandalas. There's one free online, and I have that link later in a slide for you to use. And then I'm getting into the classroom here a little bit more, but as I said before, all these things you can do, whether you're at home, in the car, most of them, you can do in the car, as long as you're paying attention to the road, or in the classroom. So, and again, for teachers out there, I just made a commitment. I said, I'm putting it in my schedule, and we're going to do meditation in the afternoon and yoga right after we do our calendar, and it's there. So it's just non-negotiable. And so we do it every day, and sometimes it's longer than other times. And then what we found is that we're doing it before we had a literacy class, and we were doing it, and it was shorter. Sometimes it would just be a chair meditation. And so, and the kids would say, oh, we should do this. And so, we might do it 3 or 4 times a day, but it's not really getting in the way of anything else. It's just making you, you're better equipped to start your math class because you've moved your energy around. But the greatest part about this is that students naturally take charge, and they make things up, and they end up leading the class. And that in itself is so great because it's giving them confidence, and it's fun. So again, here I am saying read books about mindfulness. And again, I would start with Susan Kaiser Greenland. Her website is amazing, and the mindful games and activity cards are really great because everything's on a card. You just grab the card, you can have the kids grab the card, and then you just do that activity. So that's a great resource. I think I got it on Amazon for like $14 or something. But check out her website because she has a lot of exercises on there, and everything she says on there is just awesome. And again, here's the using the chime, singing bowl, or the gong. We use it to signal, often use it to signal the end of a meditation. Then we let the kids do it. Another thing that we did, actually I did it this morning, was you just play the gong, and the kids keep their eyes closed until they can't hear the sound anymore. And it's just another way to be mindful in the classroom, and they love that. Number 4, take 5. There's so many different variations of this. So basically the way I do it is we take, you put your hand up in the air and you take 5 slow breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. And we do this when we're lining up to go to another class, or maybe just when we're sitting down at our tables. But all you have to do is say take 5 and they know what to do. So that's a great one. And the next one about just turning any activity into a mindful one is noticing your breath before and after. You can do it walking, hopping, playing basketball, running. So it's not just sitting. And I think a lot of people think, oh, you're just sitting and you're meditating. Well, no, you can be doing a somersault. And kids love this, rolling down a hill. And you can actually have students brainstorm and create a list to share and demonstrate to other classes, so they can kind of go on tour. How much fun is that? I always want to go on tour. Practice mindful listening. See how many noises you can notice in a minute. And oh, this one's a great one, the gratitude one. We did this one the other day, and I kind of just make stuff up. Like I might get an idea from reading something, or seeing a yoga card or a mindfulness card, and this one's a gratitude one. And so we just we're meditating one day, and I said, well, think of someone, a pet or someone that you really love, and you're going to send kind and peaceful thoughts to them, and then you're going to do it to yourself. And they really love that. So I think it's just staying in the moment, and realizing that because we always do this kind of thing at the end of the day, that they're leaving on a positive note. And sometimes their homework is, you have to teach your family member, someone in your family. It can even be your stuffed animal or your dog, or somebody, and teach them one of these exercises. And it's so profound. And I just love when the parents or grandparents come in and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're doing all this. This is so great. So anyway, I love that part. I think. Again, there's a mindful eating. Oh, this one, number 9, is my favorite one. I always played spa music in my classroom, and now my newest thing is I'm really into using a diffuser, and it really creates a peaceful atmosphere, and it makes your classroom or house smell good. So a lot of my favorites are lavender, orange, cinnamon, and lemon, and the kids really like it too. And you can use a cotton ball and put a little lavender or something in a cup, and then you can have the kids smell that, and it's just another way to be mindful. And there's lemon toes again. Um, oh, here's the balancing, the yoga block. We've also had kids do the block on the belly, and then the stuffed animal, which I think I mentioned before. Um, the peace rock, oh, that's a great one. I brought the kids peace rocks, and sometimes they meditate with that, and they might just hold it in their hand, or they might stare at the rock. These are picked special rocks that I collected. We also use the rocks to build cairns, and they love that. I had one student last year who would 45 minutes. Seriously, he would be trying to balance these rocks on top of one another, and just the patience he had. And that was a free time activity. That's not what we, this was sort of a special treat at the end, but it was really, I loved watching him do that, but because it took such practice and patience. And I think sometimes it helps kids with frustration too. Like, what are you going to do when the rock falls down? This is how life is. Like, you've got to just have patience. Maybe you're building something in a maker space and it's not going the way you want. So you've got to practice your calm breathing and have patience. So it's good for that as well. There's the gratitude circle. You can go around get in a circle and just say something you're grateful for. You can also say something kind about each other. And then we haven't done this yet this year, but we will be putting gratitude notes in a jar, and you can just pull them out at any time to read them. Oh, this is one of my other favorites. I have lots of favorite. Mindfulness website, Mindful Teachers. So I got this 5 Senses mindfulness log. We haven't done that yet, but I'm planning on it, and I think it might be kind of a fun thing to do. So you can click on that and check that out. Also, the marble roll, I'm planning on doing that with the kids, where you can take a toilet paper, an old toilet paper roll, and you put the marble in there, and you can't drop the marble. So each kid would have one, and you've got to pass it around the circle. That comes from planting seeds, practicing mindfulness for children. And I have that in my later slide. Oh, and this is another favorite thing. This woman, Carolyn Clark, is amazing. She's written these 3 guided meditation books, and so we have them in the classroom. And last year I thought, oh my gosh, the kids should just write their own. And so we did write their own. They all wrote them after becoming familiar with hers. And then I thought, well, I'm going to write her. So I emailed her, and she emailed back, and it was so great. She was so impressed, and we sent her all of our guided meditations, and she thought it was awesome. And it was just really nice to communicate with her, and she was so happy that her message was being spread. But the kids just love this, and they went around to other classes reading their guided meditations. And I think you could do it at home with your kids, but here's how we did it in the classroom. I told them to pick a place that they really knew well, and that way they could really describe it using detail and using the 5 senses. We reminded the kids to use breathing techniques throughout their meditation, and they're they're so good at it. And I'm going to read you one in a minute. It is on the Vocaroo slide, but I can't go. So anyway, remember to close with some form of relaxation, share your first draft with classmates and get suggestions, and revise and test out with classmates. And then they wrote a final piece. So one of the things that was really great about this is that they were all giving each other, critiquing each other and giving each other suggestions, and they were trying it out and lying down. So I think they really came out really quite well. So I'm going to read, if I have time. This is the one where you can click on that, and they did these beautiful illustrations. And I'm I'm going to quickly read one. I would read it slower in the class, but I don't want to run out of time. So this one is called The Sea Adventure. And you can do this. You can't lay on the sand unless you're on the beach right now. But anyway, lay on the sand, close your eyes. Imagine you're under the sea and you see a dolphin and a sea turtle. You ride on the dolphin's back and you see a whale. Relax and pretend you're lying on the sand. Breathe peacefully. Imagine the night sky. You see the stars. You feel joyful and calm. Slowly walk to the dolphin. Swim slowly with the dolphin. Enjoy it. Relax. Breathe. You see fish and you smile. You feel calm and peaceful. You feel good inside. Look up at the stars again. Close your eyes. Breathe. Inhale. Exhale. As you inhale, let your happiness out to the world so that other people will be happy. And as you send this happy feeling, you will feel happy too. As you ride the dolphin, she smiles at you. You smile back. You feel relaxed and joyful. You are calm and peaceful. It is nice under the sea. The sand is soft. You are happy, peaceful, and calm. It feels good. So that was just one of the many that we wrote last year. And you know, the kids read them to each other throughout the whole year, and they come back this year and they're reading them to my students right now, and so they're going to get excited to do it. So it's just it's kind of a fun activity, and they love it. Here are some of my favorite resources. Again, Susan Kaiser Greenland, The Mindful Child. That's a great book. And there are the imaginations. The Hahn Foundation, you know, that's Goldie Hawn, and she created the Mind Up curriculum. That is totally awesome. You should grab that. You can get that at Amazon, and that has a lot of activities for teachers and parents, and anything from breathing to yoga. That is a great resource. And you know, at my school we use the Open Circle for social emotional curriculum, and this kind of complements it quite nicely. Yoga Kids, I did a 4-day yoga training for kids, and those are yoga cards that you can get. And they're the meditation books. And this, Your Fantastic Elastic Brain, is just a great book for kids, and talking about the brain and how you're exercising your brain. And you know, it talks a lot about you know, controlling your breathing, and that part will decrease the reactivity and calm down your amygdala. And so we use all these big words, and the kids love it, and they really learn about how meditation and mindfulness is good for your brain. And so that's a really great resource. And again, there's Master of Mindfulness, Sitting Still Like a Frog, Good Morning Yoga, I Am Yoga, Happy Dreamer. There are so many out there. And you just have to see what you like and what your kids like and respond to. And you can write your own. And then here's the Mindful Games activity cards and yoga pretzels. We just started doing partner yoga with our kids, and they are so into it, and they're making up their own partner poses. So that is a really, really fun activity. And you know, you can just put the cards in a basket, and people can pick out of the basket. So and you can try them out. Oh, and here are all the links that I'm not going to go through now, but just for you if you want them. There's everything from guided meditations and how to find time to meditate, and more fun ways to meditate. I love Mind Body Green. Mindful.org is great, but that should help you.
Last name RUSSO.
Oh. Hello. Anyway, mindfulness-based stress reduction online. That's something that I've been working on, and it's free, and you could check that out. And that has a lot of guided meditations and lots of things that you might need. I think the last slide. I think I just lost my power. They've taken. There's no more. Oh, there we go. Whoops. Sorry. Oh, so more websites that you can check out. Blissful Kids is great. Pocket Mindfulness. I mean, every single day I find a new one. So these are just ones that I really like, and maybe you'll like them. But again, on those, you're going to get led to another one, and you know, there's so much. Those two kids are in child pose. And then, you know, the apps, there are a few out there. The ones for kids, there's Headspace, Mindfulness for Children, Smiling Mind, Stop, Breathe, and Think Kids, Calm, and Well Beyond Meditation. And then there's some for adults. But honestly, I don't like using my screens and apps, but, you know, I realize it's pretty convenient. So I guess if that's the only way you can do it, you know, it's better than not doing it at all. And but I think there are a lot that are coming out, so you just have to check them out and see if it works for you. And sometimes when I'm doing something, I'll listen to a lot of the podcasts. There's some great podcasts out there, and I think I made reference to that in one of the slides. But I just keep exploring, and I think that's the part for you that will be fun. And you know, I think it's just you're learning something new every single day, and you know, I think I'm probably, my time is probably up, but I think my advice would be just have some fun and practice on a daily basis, and you're going to have, I think you'll notice a big difference. And whether you're a parent or a teacher, just try it out and, you know, involve the kids and say, we're going to try this together and we're going to learn together, and we'll have some fun with it. And when I was doing my research, just my serious research to do this, and that's actually quite fun for me, I stumbled across a quote from Psychology Today, and it is from Gail Melson, and she said, and this really stuck in my head, and she said, perhaps in the not too distant future, a few minutes of mindful meditation or gentle yoga exercises could be as natural and necessary as brushing your teeth and putting on your jammies. And so I hope it's a natural thing in classrooms and in our lives. And you know, I wish I had had it earlier, but I'm glad I have it now.
That's a wonderful thought. Thank you so much. Just so much great information here, Elliot. Really appreciate it. There's lots of questions, and we have about 15 minutes, so I'll ask some of them. Okay. From some of the teachers on board, is it best to practice mindfulness for the entire class at the same time, or is it do you sometimes work with children individually? So is it better? That's three or four people have asked that question.
That's a really, really good question. I mean, I think it depends on the size of your class, but I would start with the whole class and see how that goes. But I think you can do both. I mean, you could have, you know, if you have the luxury of having half of your class at a time, you know, you could be, and as long as the other half is quiet, then you could work with them in the corner, and then maybe those kids could teach the other kids. So I think maybe asking your kids, hey, what do you think will work? So I think it really depends. Hopefully that answers that.
Okay, question. Yeah, no, that's good thought. For children with ADHD, 3 or 4 people have mentioned the fact that their kids specifically have a hard time with racing thoughts and with their calming their mind down. And some listeners are wondering how they would actually be able to persuade their ADHD children to sit and focus in this way. And I wondered if you had any thoughts on that specific issue.
Yes, I do. Actually, that's a really good question. I think that we all have racing thoughts, and to acknowledge that you're actually building your stamina, and if you are quiet for 30 seconds, good for you. And and to acknowledge, our minds are busy. Our minds are supposed to be thinking all the time, and that you are learning to breathe, to calm down your mind. And if you do it for 30 seconds, great. Maybe tomorrow you can do it for 40 seconds, and you're building upon that, and that it's all okay. And honestly, I think the kids that can't sit still are the ones, those are the ones that you look at those kids and you see them and they're actually better at it, I think. I mean, I think all the kids are really good at it, but they're focusing on being still, and especially when you have kids in, we do, I forgot to mention this, but Shavasana, which is corpse pose, so you're lying down, and those kids, you just see them so peaceful. And, I say to them, if your mind is racing, just go back to your breathing, just go back to your breathing. And if your mind's racing today, that's okay. You get to start again. So I think you just have to keep trying.
Right. So start small and build up, sort of.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that makes lots of sense. Couple of questions for people about how to get started at home, how to get their child interested, how to get the family interested. Do you see this as a family activity? What's your thought on terms of introducing this?
I think that you could say, you could have a conversation with your family and say, let's try this together and decide when a good time might be. Often it's really hard to figure out when everyone's going to be together, and maybe you could get look at some of the resources that I suggested, and then maybe have the kids pick out one that they want to try and lead, and you could take turns. I think you kind of just have to try it and take some risks and know that it's really fun and it's okay. And the best part about it is if you're doing it as a family, that's so great. You're together as a family. And I'm guessing that the end of the day or before bedtime is going to be a really easy time. So you could start with some of the guided meditations from Carolyn Clark, or something that you like. So I would just jump in and talk to everybody and say, hey, we're going to try this. And, we've never done it, and let's see how it goes for us. Let's try it out.
Okay. Tremendous interest among the listeners in teens. So lots of people say things like, can you suggest materials for teens? Can you suggest how I can get my 13-year-old daughter, who was recently diagnosed with ADHD, to be interested in mindfulness? Are there any specific techniques for high school students? So in general, interest in introducing these kind of techniques to older kids who might not quite be so, how shall I say this, open-minded about trying new things.
Yeah. I think you can't force anybody, but I think that once they try and once that they work it out, for the older kids, I think most of the adult activities could work. So I think you might have to hunt around a little bit. I think there's some links that might be helpful, but I do know that our second graders end up teaching our seventh graders things, and in the seventh grade at my school, they are doing it as well. So I think you just have to start small. I hope it's answering the question, because I don't really focus with that age, but I would love to focus, work with them. I think older kids can go on a noticing walk. They might not want to go for a walk, but they could notice something in their room or something in the house. It's better to get them outside for a walk if you can, but you could start small like that, and just I think kids, once you talk to them and notice, like, their minds are swirling around, and I think the meditation, have them sit down and just try to do some calm breathing and see where it goes. So
I think, well, the breathing, someone, for example, Stacy says, any ideas on helping with deep breathing exercises?
Right. Right.
I think, deep breathing makes a lot of sense.
It does, and I, oh, sorry. I also think just taking a deep breath in and holding it for a count of 3 and then slowly letting it out. I mean, it's so simple, but maybe teenagers would like the candles. I mean, there are those candles that you can buy that you just, those LED candles, or even the battery operated ones, or even listening to music. I mean, they could listen to maybe some calming music and really focus in on that. If they're, I don't know, I think there's a lot online, and I think you can just tweak it up a notch to tailor it toward the older kids. So hopefully that helps, but I
Yeah,
think just jump in.
but in your experience, I mean, you do think that upper elementary and middle school students are open to this kind of intervention?
Absolutely. Absolutely,
Right.
I do. I think they really like it. I think in the beginning, like I know that they feel awkward if you say, you know, because they've never done it before and they're like, oh, I don't want to do this. But then you find they actually, once they try and you just say, okay, we're going to keep doing it. And all your job is just to be respectful and quiet. That's all you have to do. You can close your eyes if you're comfortable, or you can look down. Either one is okay. And they might not do it for, if you're in a group setting, they may not do it for 3 times, but eventually I think everyone's going to do it. And even if they're not participating, they're benefiting from the energy in the room because it's quiet and it's silent. And you know, I I think kids they all do it, and they realize how it helps them, and so they end up wanting to do it. And I know I worked with a couple of kids that were, I think it was 8th graders, and they were taking tests. They were taking those SSATs, or just they were nervous about presenting in front of their class. And so I said to them, I said, here's something you can do and no one will know. You can sit in a chair, and it's kind of like lemon toast, but you can sit in a chair and you can squeeze your fists, and you can squeeze and release. No one can see you squeezing and releasing, but you're going to benefit. So that's for older kids. They just need the tools
Right.
as well. So anyway.
Interesting question from someone. I would not have thought of this. She says, how do you frame this practice to families of faith or
Yes.
atheist families who might perceive it as having religious overtones? That's
That's a good
interesting.
one. That's a really
Yeah.
good one. I'm
That,
fortunate in both of my school settings where I have a lot of freedom and flexibility, and I really have never had anyone do that. I was always worried, like, what are you doing in there with the yoga and the mindfulness? But
right.
thank goodness for the word mindfulness, because I
Yeah.
think you can define it as just paying attention and being mindful, and it's not really religious. I mean, I don't. Yes, in the
No.
background it is, but
Right.
the way I look at it, it's like we're just taking a moment here, and I think if somebody has an issue with it, you could say, "Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way," and they probably just want to be heard, and you know, I think what's more telling is the way their child's behaving because of it. So I've never had that, but it doesn't
Right.
mean it won't happen. So
Um,
um,
so last question, the big question. How do you recommend approaching your school or a school to suggest starting a mindfulness or meditation program?
that's
Many people say, this is a really tough one with my school. So,
yeah, I can see how it would be. I think. Um, I think most schools, and I'm hoping in all of the schools, they have some kind of a social emotional curriculum, and if not, there's certainly a need for it. Like I know, there's responsive classroom, which I've used, and open circle. There are a lot of breathing and mindful activities already embedded in that.
mhm,
So, if they don't have them in the schools, there's certainly a need. So I guess the approach would be more. Maybe they could weave it in with, we're learning about our senses, we're learning about the brain, we're learning
right.
about stress, and you could go in from that angle and say, well, in order to teach these kids about stress, or the brain, we need to study how the brain works, and what happens when you're working, doing a workout for your brain, and training your brain to handle stress. So it's like you're teaching life skills or lifelong skills. So maybe
Right.
that would be a good angle.
Mhm.
And you know, maybe I feel like, I think it's a scary thing to say, oh, I don't know, I don't do yoga, I don't do mindfulness, and really it's however you feel comfortable doing it, and just like, hopefully people would have some kind of freedom to weave it in. So I think you can get creative with that one, and the
Okay.
kids respond. So
Right. Well, we are out of time, and I just want to echo a couple of people who have said, here's a quote from Julia, this is the most spectacular collection of information I've seen in
Oh,
years. And I
oh,
really
that's so nice.
really want to give you our appreciation, because you really have put together just a wonderful set of resources that would be useful to anyone who wants to tackle mindfulness or meditation. So thank you for that, and
Oh, my
for
pleasure.
this really helpful presentation.
Oh, well,
Thanks
thank you. It was
everybody
really
for
fun.
listening.
It was a lot of fun for me. Thank you.
Yeah, it was terrific. Thanks everybody. Everyone's posting thank you, thank you. So
Oh,
great
good. Thanks.
presentation.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thanks again.
Thanks.
Hope you'll come back and talk to our Attitudes audience again.